Welcome to TestRoom, your go-to hub for professional knowledge sharing. In this session, we will explore fundamentals of robot framework syntax. I forgot to install one of the important plugin which is called as Robot Framework Language Server. This plugin helps you in syntax highlighting. It helps in auto completion and things like that. It is one of the good plugin that we need to have. Let us go and install this particular plugin. Let us go to Market Plus, search for robot and click on this. This is called as the Robot Framework Language Server and it is from Robocop, and let's try to install it. So the installation is in progress, and once it is done, please restart your IDE. Okay, now we are ready to write a simple robot framework script. There are two important things that you need to remember. One is every robot framework file should be of the extension .robot. The second thing is that whenever you are writing a keyword or you are writing a test cases, each word should be separated by at least two spaces. I will explain this while writing a script. Now let us go and try to write a simple script. We'll start this by creating a new project. Click on here and it will ask for the location where do you want to basically create first script. I have given this particular location. Basically tell you which version of the Python you're using. If you are not unable to see this the Python version, then you will have to configure your interpreter path. This I already clearly told you in the installation session. Now let us go and try and create it. The PyCharm IDE opens up. Now you can go here and try to right click and click on a new and try to add a new file by an extension called robot. Let's give this for this file, let us give a name as test.robot. And it created a file called test.robot. You can see the symbol, robot framework symbol here. That means your configuration is correct. A given robot framework file can have several sections. There are four main sections that are used in robot framework. They are setting section, the keyword section, the variable section, and the test case section. Setting section is a section where you can define the global configuration. You can define a setting sections using the keyword settings, which will starts with 3 stars. Then you can go to settings, where you can define some kind of a documentation that explains what this file is about, which will always starts with the keyword called documentation. You see, after installing the robot language server, it allows us to perform the auto completion. It gives a suggestion which keywords to use, right? What keywords to use. This is one of the good feature of robot framework language server. That is why I installed this plugin. That makes our life easy. Documentation, I can write the documentation something like this. This file is meant for learning the robot framework syntax. Okay, if your documentation or is comment is of multi-line, then you can extend this by using the three dots and you can move to the next line. Here we will explain different sections used in robot framework, right? Yeah. So in my previous tutorial, while I was giving the overview of robot framework, I also told that you can extend the functionality of robot framework by importing the external libraries. Suppose if you want to perform testing with web application, then you can import the Selenium libraries. If you want to do a testing with the APIs, then you can import the request libraries. So these are all the external libraries that are available. You can import if you want to use certain functionalities of this library in this file, then you need to import them by using the keyword called library. Okay. And if you know a little bit of programming in Python or in case of a Java, you can always write a repetitive tasks, right, using the functions or methods. In case of robot framework, these functions or methods are called as keywords. So we can write our own keywords to perform a particular task which can be repeatable in nature. In such cases, if you have already written these keywords in a robot, in one of the robot file, and if you want to use these functionalities in this particular file, then you can import them by using the keyword resource. Then you can followed by the name of the file, right? So library is used for the external libraries. It is syntax is library followed by the name of the library. It can be, for example, strings. String is a library that provides set of functionalities to work with strings, such as manipulating a string and things like that. For example, you can perform a concatenation of the string, combine the two strings, then you can get a length of the, you can convert a string, things like that. And there is also another library called collections, right? Collections, which are to work with the set of the variables like lists or the dictionaries. Okay, so these are all the libraries. In case if you want to use some of the functionalities from this library, you can import them. Similarly, if you have written a reusable keyword, that you can import via the resource. So in total, setting is a generic session which is responsible for setting up the global configurations or the global configuration for your script. So next one is a variable section. Under the variable section, you can define the variables. There are different kind of variables that are available in robot framework. Like a scalar variable can hold a single value. There is an array or a list that can hold multiple values. There is a collection which is of type key value and pair. I will explain the variables in detail when we go into the other session where we learn more about the variables. For a time being, I will, for this particular session, I will be using only the scalar variable. You can define the variable section using three dots followed by a keyword called variable. Then you can, here you can define the variable, scalar variable, which will always start with the ampersand followed by the flower bracket. Then you can give a variable name. Here I am giving my name as a variable name, the value of which it is test true. Okay. Remember that the scope of this variable is local to this file. Unless you are importing this particular file from another robot framework, then these variables can also be accessible by the file where you are going to import this particular test.robot. Okay, next section is a keywords. Keywords are similar to a function or a methods in Java or Python, where we write all the reusable. If you want to perform a particular task which is reusable in nature, you put them into a function, right? Similarly, in robot framework, these functions are called as a keywords. They are the reusable steps. You can call as many times as possible. It starts with three stars followed by keywords, and it will have a name followed by the repeatable steps, right? For example, if I want to print my name, I will write a keyword as print my name. Remember that this should always starts with starting of the line, and the steps that you write under the keyword should start after a tab or two spaces. Okay, so here you can basically use, here what I am trying to do is I am trying to write my name as my name is test troops. So already I stored test troop in a variable called my name. So I'm going to perform string concatenation functionality to combine these two strings. There is already a function that is exist in a string library. I am going to use it, and I am storing this value into another variable. Let us create another variable by name message, then assign a value by putting an equal sign. Now you have to put two spaces or a tab. Now you can use a string function catenate followed by a separator. So when you are combining a string, you can basically combine along with a particular character. For example, if I want to combine my name is test troop, instead of a space, you can combine them with a colon, right? So if you want, if you don't want a space, then you can. There is something called separator, which basically defines the character that is being used to combine these two strings. So I will use this separator. I'll just copy paste here and I will give separator as nothing. So I don't want to use any characters. Instead of it, I want to use it as a white space, right? So you see, from catenate to separator, I have given two spaces or one tab. This is the basic syntax that you follow in robot framework. And after that, I can give the two strings that I want to combine, which is my name is followed by the two spaces or a tab, then this particular variable. Okay, now I want to return the message back to return this message, so that the calling function can print this particular message. Okay, so how do I return? There is a keyword for returning. You can use return with this particular variable. Okay. This is how the keywords are basically defined in robot framework. The keywords are the one who are responsible to perform repetitive tasks. So you can define once and you can call them as many times as possible. The final section is a test case section. Test case section contains the actual test cases. Each test case consists of a name followed by the number of steps to execute. This will always starts with test cases. This will always starts with a keyword called test cases, then followed by a name, say hello. Say hello is the name of my test case, followed by the number of steps I want to perform. Remember that this always should starts with showing some error. I think there is this, yeah, maybe that is why it is causing, there was a space. Okay, that is why it was causing an error. Here I can write a step with the tab. Next line should be a tab. I will want to use a log keyword, which is basically used for printing a message, and followed by the message. If you put your cursor on this particular the keyword, it gives a complete documentation. Now for a time being, we will put a message as hello. I want to print hello. The one thing I forgot, for each of these keywords, you can also each of these like you did the documentation in settings section. For a keywords also you can write a documentation. For a test case also you can write a documentation, which is done something with the something like this. As a documentation, you can say that test keyword or that combines two strings. Okay, so here also you can write a documentation if you want. you can come here and put a documentation telling that simple test case to print hello. Okay, I can also write one more test case, that is say, so it always starts with the first position, say hello with the keyword. Then you can also put a documentation, just copy paste here, simple test case to print my name. Okay, here we will use this particular keyword here, copy this keyword, paste it here, and if I scroll over here on this, it basically gives the documentation of this particular keyword, and it is returning me the message. I'll just use this message equal to print my keyword, but you need to give the tab or two spaces, right? So now what it does, it basically returns this particular message, and I want to print this message using the keyword called log. Okay, in the first test case I am only printing hello. In the second test case I am using a keyword that basically combines two strings. My name is with the variable called test troop. The value is test troop, and here I am getting that message back by calling this particular keyword and printing it back. Now your test case is ready to use. Now this particular test.robot file has all the sections like settings, variable, keywords, and test case. Now it is ready for execution. You might have observed, as soon as I put this particular keyword as test case, there is a play icon that appeared on the left hand side, indicating that this particular portion of this file is a test case section and it can be executed. And in front of each of these test cases you can see this play icon indicating that each test case can be executed individually, or you can execute combinedly by clicking on this particular play icon that is shown next to this particular test case keyword. So now let us go and execute say hello test case by clicking here. Now the test case execution is completed. If you see, it is very fast because it is a very simple test case, and if you examine the console log, it always starts with your global configuration, that is setting configuration, and it explains why this particular test file is why this particular test file is meant for, by giving this documentation, whatever you put in the documentation section, that comes here. Then it goes into a test case section and it prints this basically prints hello. That is what we are doing it here, and along with that it also gives the test case information, the test case name, and the test case documentation. During the execution it creates three different files, but the location of the file is under the place where your project is being created. Okay, for example, this test.robot file is under the project Python project. We'll go to that directory and see. Yeah, this is a directory under test scripts. There is under test scripts there is a Python project under which you have this particular robot file, right? Test.robot file. And in this particular location it creates a folder called log to store all the reports. There are three different reports that it creates. One is called as an output.xml, which is a detailed step but in the XML file, XML reporting format. The log.html, it gives a very detailed report indicating the step by step the operation that we perform during the execution. And then there is a summary test report file which basically gives the summary of your test execution. If you want to understand the each steps in detail, so suppose if your test case is failed, which step it is really failed, in if you want to understand that, in such cases you have to go to the log.html. I'll try to open this particular the file with the Chrome browser. I'll bring here, and it has given me a one warning telling that there is some problem in my script. The particular keyword is being deprecated. We will try to correct it. Let us go to this particular section and see the step-by-step execution. So it always starts with the settings section, where it prints the documentation, it prints the file name, file location, how much time it elapsed to execute the test and things like that. Then we can go into the test case section, where it says the test case name, say hello is a name, and it gives a status, and it also gives the elapsed time, and also writes the documentation about this. In case if you have this documentation parameter, then it will write, otherwise it will not write. Then it basically takes into the keyword that you are basically calling inside your test. It gives also the this information. This is about the detailed information, and um, you can also go to the report section. You see, it basically gives the summary information, how many test cases that are executed, how many of them are passed, and how many is failed. You see, total it executed one test case, one is passed and zero is failed. What we can do, let us go and fix that particular warning that it has given here. I have to use return instead of this return. Let us copy this. Let us go back here, and instead of return I will use this. Now I'll try to execute this particular test case alone. Sorry. Yeah, it is completed, and if you see, it has put my name is test troops, right? It has not given any space here, right? So what it has done, it has the separator is I have given a separator as null. That means the no space is been specified here. So I can also give another variable called as a space, right? I think there is a variable called space here. If I give this as a space, then between these two strings a space is going to be added. Let us try execute and see this. You see, there is a space that has been put in between these two strings. Okay, so it is also execution is in also in a similar fashion. It shows the global section first, then the test case section, and you can basically go to the logs and refresh the logs. You see, it is now executing this particular keyword. Okay, it has executed these two keywords, right? These two keywords are part of this particular test case, right? And if you can go inside, you can go inside the keyword and see what is happening. I am trying to do a concatenate of two strings, and this is a message. Then I am returning the message. So and then after that I am logging this message. Huh? And if I come and refresh here, it shows my it says that you are executed one test case and one is passed. Okay, now let us go and try to execute both of these tests by clicking here. You see, it has executed two test cases and two test cases are passed. Let us go and see how the report looks like. It says two test cases, two of them are passed, and if I come here, you see it is showing the two sections, one for test say hello test case, another one is a say hello with the keyword. Basically, this is how a simple this is how you can write a very simple test case and execute it. But you should remember that all the files that you work with in robot framework is of type dot robot, and while writing the keywords, while using the keywords in a script, you should always use at least two spaces or one tab. Okay, and there are four sections, which is called as a setting section, variable section, keyword section, and test case sections. And when you are writing, you can put a documentation to each of these sections. Okay, and also remember that when you are writing a keyword, the name should always start with the first location, then followed by the steps that you put into the keyword, or that you put into the test cases. Always start with two spaces or one tab after. Okay, please follow these simple syntaxes while writing a robot file. In summary, all the robot frameworks files will have an extension .robot. So when you are using the keywords, separate them by at least two spaces or a tab. While writing the keyword or a test case, always the name of the keyword or a name of the test case should start from the zeroth position, and then it should, and the subsequent lines should always starts after a tab. And also there can be a maximum of four sections in a file, which can be a setting section for storing the global configuration, can be a variable where you can write your variables, then the keywords where you can write keywords, and then the test cases where you can write the test cases. Before we end this session, I want to show how to use the robot framework documentation. Let's go to browser and search robot framework syntax guide. It will point out to the user guide. Click here. I will also put this particular link in our uh, in the description section, and it gives a complete guide how to use the robot framework, starting from what is robot framework, the architecture, the installation, etc., etc. So these are all the sections I am going to cover in the upcoming my tutorials. I am specifically interested in these sections, right? What I basically explained today, I am basically interested in these particular sections. So if I go to the settings section, I think uh, it's taking a little bit of more time. And if I go to the settings section, it says that in the settings section I can use all these keywords. I can use libraries. Libraries are to import the external libraries. Resources are the set of keywords that I write into a robot file, and I can use the resource keyword to import them. Then variable, name, documentation, metadata, and all those things. Similarly, you can also go into the keyword section, and you can see what are the parameters that we can define in the keyword section. This is basically, so this particular section, right, what we can use, that is what it is given in this documentation, right? In the keyword section, I can use the documentation, I can use the tags, okay, I can use the arguments. Suppose if your keyword is based on the argument, right, it takes a parameter, and then it performs an action based on the parameter, then you can pass this parameter as an argument. We are also going to deep dive all these concepts later during the robot framework course. Then how to use the command line parameters, then how to use the test cases. Basically, test case can also have a documentation, test case can also have a tags, and test case have setup and tear down. Basically, what you want to do during the starting of the test case, and when the test case is completed, what you want to do, what operations that you want to perform. These are all can be specified under the test case section. We will deep dive these things when we come to this particular part of our tutorial, right? That basically concludes this session. We have covered the syntax for writing the robot framework test file. We have explored the different sections like settings, variable, keywords, and test case that each file can contain, and learn how to create simple keywords and test cases. We also seen how to execute the test cases, how to locate the generated reports and understand their structure. I hope this session has given you a solid foundation to start building your automated test using a robot framework. Hope you have enjoyed learning with me. In case if you find this session useful to you, please support me by subscribing my channel.